So my name is Nimrod Goren. I'm the president and founder of the Mitvim Institute, and I thank you for being here with us. This session will be carried out in English, and thank you for staying with us throughout the evening. As you know, at Mitvim, advancing Israeli-Palestinian peace is a foreign policy priority for us. We see it as essential for Israel and for our neighbors to fulfill their potential and believe that bringing peace to our region will enable a brighter future for the people. When working on advancing Israeli-Palestinian peace over the last few years, we found outstanding partners in Jerusalem at the team of the United Nations over there throughout different staff members and envoys. Over the years, we have carried out several activities together, trying to promote several policy issues in joint work. We've been working on enhancing the role of the international community in advancing Israeli-Palestinian peace. We've been working to try and devise an international package of incentives to both Israelis and Palestinians to advance peace. We've been conducting joint roundtables on efforts to improve the situation in Gaza and to take into account how the Mediterranean lens can contribute to that. And we've been working together to empower pro-peace civil society actors, civil society NGOs, both in Israel and among the Palestinians. And more recently, to try to leverage Israel-Arab normalization into progress in Israeli-Palestinian peacemaking. So taking all of this into account, it's a big honor for us to have with us Mr. Tor Wennseland as a keynote speaker at the Mitvim Annual Conference. Tor has been a special coordinator of the United Nations to the Middle East peace process for the last 2 years or so. He is a career diplomat who joined the Norwegian Foreign Ministry already in 1983 and has extensive experience in issues related to the Middle East. Mr. Wennseland served as Norway's special envoy to the Middle East peace process, as the representative to the Palestinian Authority, as ambassador to both Egypt and Libya, and a Middle East advisor during the optimistic days of the Oslo years. Other than that, he was posted to Norway's missions to the UN and in Ireland, and he was also involved in establishing cross-boundary water agreements for the Jordan Water Basin, and was the Secretary General of the International Water Academy. Mr. Wennseland, we are delighted to have you with us today, and thank you for sharing your diplomatic insights and experience, and thank you for all the work that you've been doing on the ground here with your team to advance a better future for our peoples. You're invited to take the floor, and then we'll sit together and have a conversation.
Thanks to Mitvim, and thanks to you, Nimrod, for inviting me. I don't have much time given to me here tonight, and we have very little time to get stuff done if we want to get it done before the whole thing becomes irreversible. There is one particular reason for where we are, and that is that demography is running faster than politics. And if this is continuing, we are in the squeeze. We are now seeing developing at the West Bank, where the population of the Palestinians have more than doubled over the last 30 years to some 3 million. And in Gaza, we have 2.3 million, while we had 700,000 when we signed the Oslo Agreement. We are lagging behind. The guys who are driving the conflict at the West Bank, whether they're Israeli soldiers that are taking care of national security issues, whether it is the Palestinians in the villages and in the city, or whether it is the settlers, the most active ones, they were all born during the Second Intifada, or just before. They're detached from the parameters of Oslo. They're detached from the two-state reality. They are detached from what could have been a peace, and they do it their own way. They're detached from the political leadership, both on the Palestinian side and on the Israeli side among the settlers. So what do we do? And what will happen if we don't address this issue very fast? Number one, it will get worse. It will get worse. Don't think that any of the initiatives that are in sight will lead us to more stability. We will be driven down the road as UN, the road of de-escalation, perpetual de-escalation. And I can assure you, because I'm doing it, that this drains all your energy and all your oxygen completely. And you have no time to open the space for the constructive solutions. The projection for Gaza for 2030 is 3 million people. Now there are 2.3. But half of these people will be below 16. And we cannot keep that place closed. We need 900 classrooms and tens of new schools. And there is zero money to build it. The donors have turned away from the Palestinians for a whole number of reasons. The peak of the transfer to the Palestinians was in 2008, where donors transferred $2 billion. Now we are down to 350. PA is on its back economically, and with no chance to improve fast. The way I see it, and I'm not going into the weeds and the details of the Oslo II agreements and 242 and all these things, but I'm just saying the following. I see no appetite in Israel, across the board and across the spectrum of politics, to integrate into Israel Gaza, Jenin camp, Balata camp, or the West Bank for that part. No appetite. And I see less and less appetite on the Palestinian side not to have a state on their own. How we craft that reality is something else. We will have to have a relook on a lot of things. But if we are not moving fast, on looking at these things, the snake will bite its own tail. Everything will get worse. I can say it flatly. I know the dynamics in Jenin. I know it in Hebron. I know it in Gaza. And I know it in Nablus. Everything will get worse. And time is running fast out. How does that impact Israel internationally? I will just say 3 one-liners. First, the unresolved conflict is already impacting the relationship between Israel and the UN. Broadly speaking, and I'm not going into any sort of details on the different decisions taken and all that, there is only one fix to that relationship, and that is to put the trajectory in a different direction. Otherwise, we will be with the narrative of the UN as it has been established by the UN since 48, or after 67. That fact will also impact, and is impacting, Israel's relationship to Europe, very clearly, but recently less so to part of the Arab world. But beware of one thing. If the trajectory is going in the wrong direction, and if the conflict is shifting from being a territorial conflict towards a religious conflict, it will be very difficult for Israel to maintain a very welcomed, improved relationship to the Arab world. Finally, I can say that Europe is not a coherent place at all. We know where the relationships are very good between Israel and Europe, with the individual countries that are there. But generally, and I can speak here as a European, and I can also talk it as a Nordic or a Norwegian, the unresolved conflict takes too much space in what could have been a by far better bilateral relationship. Without going into detail, I can tell you flatly that that is the situation across the spectrum of politics. And I would have liked to see a completely different agenda between Europe and Israel. I would have liked to see a completely different dynamic between the UN and Israel. And I would have liked to see a more safe foundation of the newly established relationship between Israel and the region. I stop there.